to the VooPlayer Q&A weekly webinar session. We're going to get started here in just one moment, but before we do, if you will be so kind as to confirm that you can both hear my voice, so I see my screen, and then we can get started. Thank you very much. From Dean, which is more than enough for myself. Hello to William Randall as well. Missing in action, sounds good. Yes, see the screen. All right, that's all great. Rick in the house, baby. All right, cool. What did I want to get to? Oh yeah, so introduction. My name is Peter. I'm VooPlayer's product manager, and we're holding these calls in order to answer any questions that you as users may have, also to provide any training on additional features, showcase new stuff that we've been working on, as well as to exchange feedback, ideas, suggestions, and recommendations on how we can improve VooPlayer and add more value to it through you guys. All right, so cool. Webinars are on weekly basis. If at any time you have a question or if you came prepared with any question, the format is pretty simple. You just drop it in this little chat box that you have over here, and then we'll just start answering them in the order that they come in. I'm just trying to get used to, all right, there we go, the monitors in this conference room. All right, cool. So, weekly webinars, if you're not able to attend any of these but would like to catch up just so you're not missing out on anything, replays are available both on our YouTube channel, link to which is in the chat box, as well as on our Facebook group, facebook.group/VooPlayer. So I'll just share the links to those. And if you haven't subscribed to that channel or joined that group to discuss and follow everything VooPlayer related, we do strongly encourage you to do so. If you are new to VooPlayer and just getting started, great resource to keep up with everything or more be informed of everything VooPlayer and what's available at your disposal in the application and in your video business use cases. You can just check over our knowledge base at docs.vooplayer.com. Particularly recommend the Getting Started section, which describes on how you can upload your first video, add features and modules to it, and then get it published on your site or platform. One more thing, if at any time you have one of those ideas, suggestions, recommendations that I was talking about, but can't wait until the webinar to share it with us, or simply don't plan on attending, inside of the application, there's a by clicking over here on documentation and support, you can click on submit and vote on ideas, which will take you to our product board where you can see all of the stuff that we're planning on working on, stuff that's under consideration, ideas, integration requests submitted by other VooPlayer users, which you can vote on, and then that helps generate momentum and helps us prioritize those requests accordingly, as well as you can see stuff that's been recently launched. And most importantly, as I mentioned, up on the top right corner, you can click on submit an idea, where you can describe what's important to you and how important it is, so that we can categorize, prioritize, and map it to our roadmap. All right, cool. I think that's all of the admin stuff out of the way. So before we get to questions, I do have a couple of things I wanted to update you on. I think both of these are requests that came out of a couple of last week's webinars. So a couple of enhancements that we recently added. I don't know if I do have an overlay on this video, so that's great. So we've added the ability for any overlay. So for example, I'll just take this one instead of creating a new one. Inside of the settings section for the overlays, we added the ability for it to pause the video. So what this does is at any time that an overlay should appear, at that time the video will be automatically paused. And there was a way to do this which was a little bit more complicated previously, but we just added a simple checkbox which kind of automates that process. So if you have custom HTML overlays with stuff that's important for users to focus on at that time, you may want to consider pausing it at that time. So that's just a control based on the feedback that we've gotten from people thus far, and decided to include it as an option in the settings of the overlay. And this pause control is available on all overlays, be they templates or custom HTML overlays. So that's available now. Additionally, also based on a lot of feedback that we've been getting through the webinars as well as through our support channel, we did introduce a new on finish action, which is related videos. So you can just specify a few videos you want to add, and that will basically show up at the end of the main video, and from there users can choose which video they want to watch next. So related videos is an on finish action, has been added as well since the, I mean, this is now live on production. It's been added since the last webinar. That's what I wanted to say. So cool, those two things. So thanks again for that feedback on those improvements that help drive the value and help make your work what was I gonna say? Workflows. That's what that was the word. Workflows a little bit easier. So hopefully there'll be more of that kind of a feedback. Sincerely looking forward to it, so we can keep improving WooPlayer. All right, now let's see if we have any questions. Rick is asking, anyone know how to create a Roku channel being fed by WooPlayer content? There's not a way that you can do that, Rick. Primarily because on Roku you can't host HTML players, meaning that any WooPlayer content, primarily WooPlayer features, will not be available through that player. From what I'm aware of, at least with regards to Roku, and that's not much, is that you're able to provide streams of content, which WooPlayer videos are not in its own. So I don't think there's much that can be done about that. Dean is saying thanks for the pause and related. Rick is supporting that. Those are the two nice features. As mentioned, thanks to the feedback that you guys provided over the webinar over the last couple of weeks, we've been able to identify those as definitely viable additions to everything that's capable, everything that you can do inside of WooPlayer. So hopefully you'll utilize them successfully and provide additional feedback on how they can be improved and what else is missing inside of WooPlayer. As mentioned, we're really eager to hear that, and you can always submit that through our product board, just clicking on submit idea, or just hit us up at support@wooplayer.com, and we can just get a conversation going around those topics and what's the best way to fit them inside of WooPlayer. All right. Do we have any other questions in the meantime? See some new people joining the webinar a little bit late. Just want to welcome everybody. The format of the webinar is pretty straightforward. So if at any time you have a question or are just curious about what WooPlayer can do for your use case, we're more than open to discuss it in this call. So just drop your question in this chat box, and we can answer them. No questions? We might be stopping this way earlier than planned. So hopefully, maybe someone can. All right, Dean is typing a question, so we'll hold for that. Rick is trying not to hug the webinar. Hug. Rick, if no one else chimes in except Dean, the floor is all yours. Any idea when your effort on the interactive videos funnels will resume? Very soon, but I don't want to say immediately. We're planning on expansion in our development department, which will help us focus more on on large scale reworks such as the final rework. And as soon as that happens, we'll be back at it again. That's one of the things that's at the top of the items that we're working on is the final rework, as something that's also been identified as carrying a lot of value. William is asking, how can I add a live clock according to the time zone in VooPlayer? Ooh, I don't know. How can I add a live clock? I don't know. Let's check this out. Live clock widget. Web. Misspelled web. How to embed Eventbrite's classic widgets on your site. Let's try that. Eventbrite. No, those are countdowns, right? How to display widgets based on website's logic. Live software. Click to call. Let's do this. Simple clock website widget. Free clocks for your website. Excellent. Time and date. Copy or modify existing clock. This is how the clock will be shown. Keep the window. All right. No. A lot of fun stuff that we can do here. Let's just try and grab this and see what happens. Copy. What do I do here? Copy or modify existing clock. Copy and paste the HTML source code you make to go back without import. I don't know what's in my clipboard now. Nothing. Time and date. Copy, modify, continue. Oh, all right, there we go. All right, so I want it to be displayed like this, let's say, and I want to continue. And country, time, display date, hour, default for country, language, time zone, none. Show abbreviation, time zones, location. So I guess this is going to be a local time zones, peak time zone. I don't know. You can play with this, but I'll just grab the default values. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. Continue. All right. So there we go. We finally got that snippet of code. So what I want to do is I'll just come back. I guess I was doing all of that on my other screen, so you weren't able to see it. So basically, I just Googled clock widget for your website, and that took me to this site where I was able to timeanddate.com, where I was able to generate the code. So basically, I'll just come over here back to VooPlayer, and let me just find one of the videos. I'll take this, why not? And we'll come to interactions and CTAs. And for this, as you probably could have imagined, we'll just use the custom HTML overlay. We'll just place that snippet. Actually, let me try and do the full screen snippet, custom full screen template. Let's see how this pans out. Yeah, I don't see it doing anything. That's weird. Save. Save. I'll watch it just in case. Curious to why it didn't appear. There's something that's appearing, but it's not showing up. But basically, you would find a reliable code that you can create as a snippet, and then you would just include that inside of the custom HTML overlay. Sorry, that example didn't quite work out, but hopefully we'll find one that it does. William, if you're really curious about that, we can find a good one and then figure out the best way to implement it. Dean is saying, where's the data showing the features of VooPlayer? I need to list them for a client. Long story. Looking for the URL page that lists them, cannot find it when searching. URL page, let me get you this. So the best resource would be license information, or if you want. So if you want just a big list for VooPlayer, you can just come over here to VooPlayer.com, click on features, and click on features list. And that's gonna open up the full comparison of, again, I don't know why I keep doing that on the different screens. So you can come to VooPlayer.com, click on features, and click on features list. And there you can click on compare all features, which will give you a breakdown of all of the features by license. So hopefully that's an easy resource enough. If not, you can always come to docs.vooplayer.com and search for license information, I believe is the name of that article. And in that article, you have the licenses broke down a little bit more wordier, but at the bottom of the article, you have that same link to that same comparison sheet. So I'll just paste that link in there. But as I mentioned, that's all available from within the home page when you click on the features list. Sorry, there's that article. Rick saying ditto. Dudley is saying, can you please explain why we cannot use VooPlayer with Roku again if there are no other questions before you close this session? Because, all right, let's dig a little bit deeper into this. So create Roku channel. How to create a queue. There we go. So the major thing about Roku, from what I understand, and as I mentioned, that's not that much, is that Roku has its own player, which means that Roku Direct Publishing on the servers to help you. Simple around 5 minutes. You've gotten follow along screens, meant to instant TV channel is independent service that allows you to create TV channel instantly. They specialize in helping developers do yourself Roku TV channels. Although their website looks like it's they have create custom built app, cost highest, Lisa channel. At least from my understanding, I'm not sure this is the case, is that you can only stream content through their through the Roku channel service, which will play through their player, which means that all of the VooPlayer features can be published through it. But if anybody has more information on, so what caught my eye is I see that, for example, there's a Netflix channel, there's a Hulu channel, there's a PlayStation channel, Amazon channel. So I would assume that all of these channels have players of their own. So that's interesting. If Netflix, for example, if Netflix has a player of its own on Roku, and you're able to watch through Roku using the Netflix player, that would be a sign of hope. But that would probably lean towards the method 3, which is building a custom app, which you would need to do to house VooPlayer content on there. If you wanted to have a VooPlayer player with all of the VooPlayer features streamed through Roku, that's probably what you have to do. But this question has come up not only today, but a lot. So I'll make a note of it, and I'll try and do some more research around what's exactly required. As I mentioned, I'm not that familiar with Roku, but I'll find out more, and then I'll circle back next week with my findings. If you care to join next week and provide an elaboration of what's the feasibility of having VooPlayer be played through Roku. And again, if anybody has any additional information or experience with Roku channels and custom players, we certainly more than welcome that. Thanks for the questions. I think that was Dudley and who raised that initially. Think that was Rick. All right. Any other questions in the meantime? Slow day today, yeah. Cloudy weather here too. It's a moody day. All right, cool. Well, we'll just call it a day then. Uh, while I'm wrapping up, if anybody has any final questions, be more than willing to answer them. Otherwise, we continue to be available both through our live chat in the application as well as via support@blueplayer.com. Dean, do follow up if you find yourself lost with setting up that clock widget in your video. I'll gladly help you out with that. Just hit us up at support@blueplayer.com, and I'm sure that we can find an applicable solution. To everyone else, thanks again. Hopefully, we'll have some more feedback and requests and questions next week. And until then, I want to thank everybody who joined. Rick was waiting for the last minute. Explain the live publish options. I don't know what the live publish options are. What are live publish options? Where can that be found? What are live publish options? Are you talking about Evergreen webinar tool? Rick? Under publish, the start end times. Oh, cool. Yeah, sure. Why not? I think we've been over this on a couple of webinars ago, but why not? So if you come over here to publish, there are a lot of options which you can use to customize how that player will be shown and how it will function. And one of those options is custom start end times. And as you can see, if you hover over it, it says select specific times to start or end video playback. So for example, this video lasts for 5 seconds. So if I come here and say, hey, I want the playback to start at, for example, second 1, and I want it to end at second 4, we'll see that will change the embed code somewhat and give it an S and E parameter. So that basically means that the video will start at second 1 instead of at second 0, and it will end at second 4 rather at the end of the video. It's pretty simple to do. And it has some viable use cases. For example, if you want to highlight a particular scene to somebody, Rick is saying they are not saved for reuse. Must they always be customized per video? Yes, nothing that you see in the publish screen or configure is ever saved. And the reason for that is that it gives you the embed code that you need. You copy it or share link or whatever, or pop-up code. You copy it and you place it inside of the context or solution that you have prepared. However, for a different utilization, so for example, I have filmed, for example, an NFL game, and I want to showcase a particular play to somebody. So I would set the start and end times for a particular play, and then I'll send that link off to somebody. But then somebody says, yeah, but that, I don't know, that catch was amazing, and I say, yeah, he's a really good player, and I want to highlight another play of his, so I will just change the start and end times and use a different link for that. So, for example, I mean, I don't think I need to illustrate the use case that much, but basically, all of the configurations within the publish menu are never saved. They're just utilized for that single purpose of you creating the player that you want and have it behave in a way that you want for that particular context. And you may want to, as most WooPlayer users do, to cover the different use cases, which is why you can configure the embed code and the player in many different ways. So hopefully that answers that question, Rick. We at one time we did have a idea of creating what we were calling universal codes, which would basically be a code snippet which you can, for example, place on your website, like a placeholder. Let's say that you have a landing page, and on it you have a main video, and you would just place a snippet of code, which would basically be, hey, this is WooPlayer snippet, and that's all it is. And then from WooPlayer, then you can configure what that snippet does. You can schedule it and say, on Mondays, it'll play that video. On Tuesdays, it'll play that video. On Thursdays, it will show as offline. On Fridays, it will whatever, for example, you can configure it in any way that you want. You can change what that code does without the need to update that code on your website. So that's one of the ideas that we originally had. If that, just throwing it out there, just came to my mind. So if anybody has or is considering similar use cases to that, would love to continue that conversation over at support@woolplayer.com. Rick is saying, can those customized link be put into a playlist? No, they can't. So that's often a misconception. So if we're talking about this link to share link, this link can be put into anything. It can be put into a playlist. It can be put into I don't know what you have, like WordPress. I don't want to ruin the news. Soon we'll have an announcement on an integration with one of the WordPress theme vendors, so stay tuned for that. But usually you can put this into like a video source input and expect it to come out. Why? Because this is not a link to a video itself. This is a link to a web page or a player that you have, and if you sometimes look at the source code of the embedded player, you'll see that it's linking to this exact same thing. So I hope that you understand that this link is not to the video, but it's rather to the player page, which is why you can't reuse it in a video source type context. So hopefully that makes sense. If as I mentioned, if that universal code that I was discussing sounds like something that could be useful for somebody, we'll definitely like to have that conversation. We've seen a lot of value in that, but never actually got anybody who said that they would use it in any particular way. So hopefully we'll at some point explore the possibilities of utilization of something that can be placed on website as a player, but can be configured from WooPlayer, what it does when without the need to update the code. All right. Hopefully, what's the expected timeline for that VP vendor? Depends on them. We've been in talks with their development team over the last couple of weeks, so I think we have everything sorted. So I think everything is set on our end, just a matter of them integrating it inside of their application. I mean, I don't know why I can't. It's not like a top secret. It's Thrive Themes. They're adding WooPlayer support for this link, so you can, and basically you're going to be able to see a list of all of your WooPlayer videos. So you can select the video element and I think their builders are Thrive Architect and Thrive Apprentice. Thrive Architect and Thrive Apprentice are the builders, but there's a lot of themes which are using those builders. You're going to be able to select a video element, and there you're going to be able to see a list of all of your VooPlayer videos, and you can just select the video which you want without the need to coming to VooPlayer and grab the embed code. So hopefully, I know a lot of people are using that, and I think it's probably one of the most prevalent theme builders for our users. So hopefully, you'll garnish some use out of that integration. All right, I do have a hard stop at this time, so I just want to thank everybody for joining this week, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye. Thanks again.